Anything Ghost, number 327. 20 years of Anything Ghost, 2006 to 2026. Welcome to Anything Ghost. My name is Lex Wall. Anything Ghost is a podcast where people share their personal experiences with ghosts or local ghost legends, and I share them with you. If you have one to share, send it to lex@anythingghost.com. Have stories for you from the US, Mexico, and the UK, so stick around for number 327. And this first story comes to us from Beto in Mexico. And he actually sent this last October, but I somehow overlooked it. But it's about a haunted school. Hello, Lex, and listeners of Anything Ghost. I'm Beto, and this time I'm going to talk about strange happenings in the school where I work. The school is about 60 years old, and I've been working there for the last 22, although now I work from home and get to visit the school about twice a month. The first thing I remember was when one day, about 16 years ago, I was applying extemporaneous exams to 5 or 6 students. Most classrooms seat about 18 students, so to keep an eye on them, I asked them to sit in the front row. Halfway through the exam, we all heard the voice of a woman saying something that I couldn't make out. The voice came from the back right corner of the room where nobody was sitting. I told some teachers about the event, and they told me that next time I apply exams, to always place one on one of the desks for the ghost student. The second event happened a couple of years later. The school has 3 floors and 2 bathrooms on each. Back in those days, the doors to the bathrooms had closing system that was really difficult to use, since you really had to push and pull with all your might. Even adults struggled with them. One day, nature called, and I went to the one on the second floor. I pushed the heavy door and found the bathroom apparently empty. After finishing, I pulled the door and grabbed the knob on the outside to stop the door from pushing me into the corridor. The door closed, and right before I let go of the knob, I felt it moved, just as if somebody from the inside were twisting it back and forth. When I felt the shaking of the knob, I let go of it with a jerk. A colleague saw what happened and asked if I had just had an electrostatic shock. I entered the bathroom again and checked inside, but the place was indeed empty. The school has an auditorium that we used for cultural events, plays, and staff meetings. Other schools will rent it for graduations or music recitals. One of the guards who worked there for years, he's retired now, told us that he had never seen anything strange in the night shift. However, there was this time after one of these events, the guard was taking his rounds to see that all the guests had left. When he reached the first floor, he swears he saw a young couple enter the girls' bathroom. Immediately, he went to the door and demanded that they leave the bathroom because the school was about to close. After a few knocks, the woman yelled that he could in no way enter the bathroom. At that moment, the guard saw one of the cleaning ladies and asked her to come assist him. He asked her to enter the bathroom and asked the couple to vacate the premises at once. she entered the bathroom, and he heard her talking to the woman. After a few minutes, only the two women left the bathroom. The guard entered looking for a man, but there was nobody else in there. Finally, this just happened to me in January of 2020. I would usually check my homework or do my lesson plans outside the auditorium, because this place is usually very quiet. Across from the auditorium, there are some small classrooms that are used for tutoring. My supervisor was using one of these to interview teacher prospects. My supervisor, Miss Gomez, and I had this way of greeting one another, using our last names in a ceremonious voice. Miss Gomez, Mr. Hernandez. And we would greet each other like that 10 or 15 times throughout the day. This day, I was about to go upstairs to the office to print some worksheets when I heard footsteps coming down the stairs. I turned to see who it was. She saw me and said, Mr. Hernandez? And of course, I replied, Miss Gomez? And as she proceeded to one of the little rooms, probably to continue with interviews, I went upstairs to the second floor. However, as I reached the top of the stairs, Miss Gomez was coming from the corridor that leads to the normal classroom and said, Mr. Hernandez? I stopped in my tracks. It took me a couple of seconds to manage, Miss Gomez? She passed in front of me and entered the academic department. Instead of going to make the copies, I ran downstairs and, sure enough, nobody was in the small rooms. There is no way that she, a woman aged 56, left the mini rooms, ran about 30 yards to the other stairs in the middle of the school, went up to the second floor, and then another 30 yards to where I was. About a month later, and due to the pandemic, we were sent home. 3 days before we started online classes, Miss Gomez died of a heart attack. May she rest in peace. And thanks for sharing your haunted school stories with us, Beto. And thanks for all the other stories you've sent over these years. This next story is from Andra in San Francisco, California. The Haunted Atherton Mansion. I'm a native San Franciscan and interested in the history of our beautiful historic Victorians. I thought I'd share this story. Though it's not my own ghost story, I actually have been by to look at the Atherton house. It's on a ghost tour of Nob Hill, and it has a macabre history I'd like to share. The Atherton house, a grand Victorian, was once owned by widowed Dominga de Goni Atherton and her daughter Gertrude. It's in an upper-class neighborhood in San Francisco called Nob Hill. Gertrude married George, and the three lived in the Victorian mansion. But unfortunately, George's wife and her mother were extremely domineering and headstrong, and constantly henpecked poor George relentlessly. So much so that George fled by ship to Chile for a break from the two bossy women. During the sailing journey, George suddenly developed a kidney infection and died on the ship. Knowing that George was from a reputable San Francisco family, the sailors decided to try and preserve the body by putting it in a barrel of rum, virtually pickling George so that upon arrival to San Francisco, the family could give him a proper burial. Unfortunately, the ship's crew forgot to tell the family where the body was, so it was stored with the wine in the cellar of the Atherton house. Imagine the butler's surprise when he opened the barrel and found his master George's body pickled in the barrel. The women were said to have gone hysterical, screaming in fright, so that all the neighbors heard. And that was when the haunting started at the Atherton house. The women and servants began hearing knockings and taps from behind the walls, and seeing a misty figure wandering the rooms and feeling extreme cold spots. The women were so frightened that they ended up selling their family home and moving. Fast forward to the 1920s. The mansion was divided into 13 separate rental apartments, and a reclusive woman named Carrie Rousseau owned the home. She resided in the ballroom with her 50 to 80 cats in apartment number 13, and had tenants in other apartments within the rest of the mansion. She became known as the Cat Lady Carrie, and she lived there till her death at age 93. She passed away in the ballroom of the house. Throughout the entire time tenants lived there, they experienced a litany of paranormal activity. Cold spots, things disappearing and reappearing elsewhere, banging and knocks on the walls. Needless to say, there was a high turnover of tenants. About 10 years ago, I was personally walking by the Atherton house, which has amazing Victorian architecture, and I saw a workman doing construction at the house. The main door was open, so I could peer inside at the grand staircase. We chatted, and he said that the house had just been sold to some sort of religious group wanting to make it a religious retreat. I found out later that they bought the Atherton house, but lost money on the deal because the paranormal activity was too much for them, and they decided to move out shortly after moving in. Me being nosy, I asked if I could go inside the empty mansion, but unfortunately the worker couldn't let me in, as it was private property. Since then, I think it's still rental apartments, and I'm not sure if the paranormal activity is still active. Currently, it is part of the San Francisco walking tour now, and people can hear the story and look at the exterior of the haunted Atherton house. I'm attaching some pictures of the Atherton house and pictures of Dominga and Gertrude Atherton. We have a bunch of old homes, reportedly haunted, and on ghost tours. But I've personally experienced some paranormal activity in regular Victorian homes here in San Francisco, as our city has a fascinating history and past of the wild Barbary Coast gold rush days, the 1906 earthquake, and cemeteries moved when the city started growing at a fast rate during the gold rush. I hope you and your listeners enjoyed this story. I really love your podcast, and I'm starting back to 2006 episodes again in the VIP group. Thanks for listening, and take care. Okay, Andra, thank you for sending all that in. That was very interesting stuff. I started doing some research on it myself, and yeah, there's some old newspaper articles that were very interesting. But and she mentioned the VIP group. Might as well tell you about it. So I've been doing this for 20 years now, and I think the last 15 episodes or 20 are free. But if you want the entire package of Anything Ghost, every single episode, you need to join the Anything Ghost VIP group. There's a one-time membership fee, and you'll get every single episode I ever put out for 20 years. It's a lot of ghost stories. So check it out. Go to anythingghost.com, join VIP. Anythingghost.com, join VIP. And now we're going to head off to Liverpool, England for a story from Craig, House by the Loch Demon. Hi Lex, I was on your show maybe 15, 18 years ago. I saw a ghost while working at Aintree Station, Liverpool in the 1990s. Here's my latest tale. October 2025. Our entire family was on holiday in the Highlands of Scotland, near Inverness, at a very remote house called House by the Loch. After a good night of food and drink, myself, my sister-in-law, Carla, known to many as Coughing Karen, stepped outside for some fresh air, and you drink in the scenery. We sat for a while drinking in the magical, mystical views, and then took a couple of photos before returning back inside. We showed the family the stunning photo we had taken, and to our horror, while looking at the photo, we could see something over the border wall. It had red eyes and what appears to be a flaming head. Our blood ran cold. However, being drunk, I went out to investigate right up to the wall. But there was nothing there. We locked the doors that night, that's for sure. And he also attached some photos, so I'll try to get those up on the Anything Ghost site and the VIP site. And again, thank you, Craig from Liverpool, for sharing the House by the Loch Demon. And while we're in England, I found a newspaper article from 1936, the Elbourne House, Newbury, Berkshire, England. An old man with his hands and feet shackled walking through bedrooms, the clanking of chains, doors continually banging, guests refusing to stay. This was the story of a haunted guest house at Newbury, Berkshire, told to an Evening Dispatch reporter today by the proprietor, Mrs. Florence Hilda Laurie, summoned at the local police court today for non-payment of rates amounting to £40+. And today that would be somewhere around £3,600. So it wasn't a small amount. She told the magistrates that she had failed in business because the house was haunted and the guests refused to stay. Mrs. Laurie told the reporter, "The Elbourne house is haunted by the figure of a bent man with shackled hands and feet who walks through the bedrooms at night, clanking his chains. I have seen the figure myself, but I was not afraid. I have been in haunted houses before, but my boarders were terrified. In fact, one girl went out of her mind and had to be sent away. I could not keep a single person. All my money is gone." Lady Hewitt, the wife of Sir H. Hewitt of Broadway, Newbury, who was a close friend of Mrs. Laurie, told me tonight, "I have talked to people who saw the ghost, and no doubt they were very frightened. At night, all kinds of noises, chains clanking and doors banging, could be heard, and not unnaturally, people would not stay there." Mrs. Laurie herself went on to say, "The house has a subterranean passage, and I believe has some association with Cromwell." And I think she was speaking of Oliver Cromwell, an important figure in British history. He lived from 1599 to 1658. And then she went on to say, "There is a story that a murder was committed there many years ago when a girl's throat was cut by her lover. Nobody knows what happened to the old man." One reporter went to visit the house. He said it was an old Victorian home, but it had been built atop the site of a much older place, parts of which still remain. The case against Mrs. Laurie was adjourned for a month by the court, during which time she stayed with relatives. That was early September 1936. By December of the same year, 1936, Mrs. Laurie told the court that she did the smart thing. She sold the old place and found a job as a housekeeper elsewhere. And I looked up the place by, what is it called? The Elbourne House. And I couldn't find it. There was one called I think it was the Elbourne House. And it looked like it was the same address. So they might have changed names. I don't know how that works. If they have a title forever or if it's only while someone's alive. I don't know. But anyway, it looked like it's still there. It was a brick Victorian house. It looked pretty nice. But anyway, that's the Elbourne house. It was a boarding house from 1936. And that's all the stories I have for this 20th anniversary. But I'm going to grab something from the archive, one of the more popular stories. I'm sure the people that have been with us for a long time have heard these a couple times. But I'm going to share one of those, and then I have another one of those episodes from One Step Beyond that I'm going to share with you. Okay, so let's get on with the show from our archive. So there have been at least 2 stories on Anything Ghost that have generated a lot of email and correspondence. And one of them it's called Laura from San Francisco, and it's about a haunted apartment she lived at, along with a doppelganger situation. It was a great story, and she told it herself. And that one was the first big Anything Ghost story I ever got. And then some years later, I got an email from Eric in Utah about a haunted hospital, more or less, like a upper floor of a hospital. And that one got a lot of correspondence also. And that's one I share a lot. I share Laura's a lot. I share this one a lot. So I'm going to play it's a 24-minute story from Eric in Utah. And he called it The Fixer.
Hey, Alex. Hey, Anything Ghost listeners. My name is Eric. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I was hoping to share a story with you that I think will fit in well with the show. It may be a little different from most of the stories you're used to getting, but I think it's a story worth telling. It's more of the story of my friend Todd than my own story. And I have to say I've changed most of the names of the people involved, mainly because they're all still part of my daily life, and I wouldn't want them thinking or knowing that I was airing their dirty laundry. Anyway, I work for one of the largest healthcare companies in the West, and I work in a hospital. It's Utah's oldest hospital. I believe it's 100 plus years old. Our office is located on the 2nd floor, directly above the emergency department. What my team and I do is we're part of an emergency medical dispatch team. So if someone is having a medical emergency and needs to contact their doctor, they go through us. We also contact the emergency rooms all night long, and we spend all our time connecting doctors to people who are in need of medical attention. Basically what we do, it's all over the phone. We're all stuck in one small room, and so we get to know each other pretty well. Our job is basically, there's 2 speeds. It's either utter chaos and complete confusion during our busy times, or it's completely dead during the slow times. So a lot of times we have to think of things to do to entertain ourselves during the downtime. I apologize if you're hearing a squeak. My dog's over there playing with one of her toys. My friend Todd was the one who introduced me to podcasts. I had no idea what a podcast was until he showed me what it was. And specifically, he let me know about Anything Ghost Show. He and I would listen to it together. We couldn't listen to it out loud. We had to listen to it each through our own headphones because the company policy is we can't have anything playing out loud. And also because we have some pretty skittish coworkers who probably wouldn't have enjoyed listening to the show, would have freaked them out probably. So we'd listen to the podcast together during these slow times that I mentioned. And we'd hear the same one, and then we'd discuss it. We'd talk about which ones made our BS meters go off and which ones we really enjoyed, and paid special attention to anyone calling from Utah or Salt Lake, trying to figure out where they were calling from or what they were doing. I got to say, I wouldn't say I'm a disbeliever in the paranormal or in ghosts. It's something I never have really given much thought to. I'm not a real logical guy either. I'm not into ghosts, but I listened to it because it was entertaining and enjoyable. I enjoyed the stories, even if I didn't particularly believe them. And it gave me something to do that kind of connected me to my coworker, something we could talk about and do together. And it helped the time go by. It was an entertaining way to pass those slow times at work. One day about 18 months ago, it was during one of our very busy times, and my friend Todd pulled me aside and asked me if he could go home for the day. He said he wasn't feeling well. He had left early the day before, and he was kind of one of those guys that tended to leave early from work more often than he should. And we were extremely busy, so I told him honestly, I said, dude, I don't think you can go now. Is there any way you can stay till the end of your shift? And he wasn't very happy with that, but he agreed to do it and kind of sat down, didn't talk to me much for the rest of his shift. Obviously, he wasn't happy that I had asked him to stay. Our shift ended at 11 o'clock at night. That's generally when we have shift change. We all went home for the night. I was home a couple hours later. It was probably 3:30 in the morning. I was having a late dinner, which is my custom, unwinding from the day when I got a call from the hospital. And when someone calls from the hospital, it just shows on my phone that it's the hospital calling. It doesn't show which department or where. It's just a general number that comes through. But I, of course, assumed it was from my coworkers who had a question for me. It wasn't uncommon for them to call. They know they can call anytime except for between 7 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. That's when I sleep. And they know not to call me then, but pretty much any other time they call. So I pick up the phone and I'm helloing, not hearing anything in response. It's just kind of dead air. So I wonder what's going on. And I hang up and call back to my office and get one of my coworkers and I say, hey, what's going on? You guys need something? They said, no, we didn't call you. We didn't need you. And I thought, that's kind of weird. Somebody from the hospital called, but didn't think too much about it. I went back to my dinner and probably watching some TV, and my phone rang again. And this call was coming from Todd's phone, from my friend's phone. And it wasn't as common for people to call from their personal home numbers when they're not at work, but it's not unheard of. And I thought, maybe Todd needs something. So I answered, and once again, it was just dead air. It was, I'm hello, not hearing anything. So I figured he probably pocket dialed or, those things happen. I didn't call him back because I thought I'm not going to wake up his family and kids calling in the middle of the night. I thought if he needs something, he'll tell me about it later or he'll call back. And I hung up and forgot about it. Didn't think about these phone calls actually for months later. I'd completely forgotten about them for the next few months. I was sound asleep the next morning. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning and my phone rings again and wakes me up. People, everyone, my friends, family, coworkers, they all know not to call me during the morning because that's my sleeping time. The only person who would call me during this time is my own boss, and she would only call if it was something important. So I answered, and sure enough, it was my boss. I answered the call, and I'm half asleep, and she says, Eric, are you sitting down? I'm laying down. I sound asleep, but what's going on? She said that the night before, Todd had left work and gone home and was complaining to his wife about abdominal pains. He tried to sleep and couldn't sleep. So I guess he really was sick, and she finally convinced him to go back to the emergency room. So about 2 hours after he left work, he was back in the very same hospital, in the room right below where he had been working. And 2 hours after that, they pronounced him dead. He had had an aneurysm in the arteries of his spleen. And he had internal bleeding that they couldn't stop, and he was pronounced dead there that very morning. I was in shock. We all were. He was 32 years old. He left behind a wife and 2 little kids. Just couldn't believe he was gone. It was just such a blow to the whole team. And right then I knew that I was not going to let anyone know that he had asked if he could leave earlier the night before. But I thought a lot about it. Wondering what would have happened if I had let him go, if I had said, yeah, dude, take off. If he had gone to the emergency room sooner, could they have done anything? Could anything have been changed? Some things you can't think about too much, though, because they'll drive you crazy. I'm kind of a fixer. When I see something's wrong, I like to fix it, and this couldn't be fixed. It was what it was, and it happened. And so I hid the story. I didn't tell anybody about what had happened, and I tried not to think too much about it. Well, time went on like it will. We hired new employees, a replacement for Tom and some others, people who didn't know him, and we all remembered him still, and we grieved for him still, but we talked about him less and less as time went by, and pretty soon, we quit sharing our favorite Tom stories. I'm calling him by his real name. I apologize. I'm not Todd, but I don't know that I'll change it. His name's Tom. His name was Tom. Before I go a lot further, I have to kind of describe the office where we work. We're located on the second floor, as I mentioned, and it's the only non-patient floor in the hospital, so there's no patients there. Just a ton of offices where a bunch of people work. The cafeteria is also on the second floor. So during the day, it's a very busy place with all these people coming and going from the hospital and from the cafeteria. We're kind of tucked into the very, very middle of it, kind of in the end of a maze is our little office. Most people don't even know we're there. But everyone goes home at 5 or 6 at night. They're not there on the weekends. The cafeteria's not open on the weekends, so there's no housekeeping. There's no one there on the weekends. So it's just us, tucked away in our little corner with 7 floors of patient care going on above us and the bustling emergency room underneath us. And us on this totally deserted, empty floor. It's kind of like a ghost town. I don't know if you've ever been in a house in the middle of a city. Sometimes people have those houses that are kind of tucked into little pockets. And you feel like you're out in the country or something when in reality you're just a block from the busy city blocks or busy city streets. That's what it felt like. We were just tucked away, and it was quite lonely on our floor during the weekends and at night. We were the only ones there. Nobody had any reason to come to the floor but us. We were working on it as a Sunday afternoon, maybe about four months ago, and there were 3 of us working. We carry a very light load on the weekends, so we kind of have a skeleton crew. It's usually just 3 or 4 people. And there were 3 of us that afternoon, myself and my coworker Joey and another gal, and we were manning the phones. And because our policy is that 2 people have to be on the phones at all time, only 1 person can be out of the room at any given time. So we have to take turns coming and going. Again, I apologize for the squeak. It's my dog playing with the toys. Anyway, toward the evening, I had gotten really thirsty and decided to go for a drink. So I'd wandered out and left my coworkers manning the phones, and I'd gone down to the vending machine, put my quarters in, and the drink, it seems like it always happens, especially to me, starts to come out and it gets stuck on the glass. The drink doesn't fall out, it won't dispense. And I'm frustrated. I'm kind of pounding on the glass a little bit, try to shake the machine, but it's bolted to the floor. I'm doing this when I hear this voice right behind me, this male voice, and it says, "Well, that sucks." And at first I'm embarrassed. I think, oh man, who's watching me, in my futile attempt to shake this drink loose. I look around and there's nobody there. I was thinking about it. I thought, wow, it would be very difficult for someone to walk up to me. It's a silent, quiet, empty, deserted hall, so there's no way to sneak up on anybody. I look around the corner and nobody's there. I wonder if somebody's, ducked into the elevator, which is right across from the vending machine, but I hadn't heard the doors open or a ding or anything. I hadn't heard a thing except for that voice saying, "Well, that sucks." So I thought, that's really weird. But like I said, I'm just not a paranormal type guy. It doesn't come into my head that, oh man, this must be a ghost. In fact, someone would have had to have pointed it out to me. Maybe it was a ghost for the thought to even enter my head. And I was actually completely forgot about the voice by the time I got back to the office. I got another drink, wasted another $1.50, and was back in the office. Sorry about that, Lex. I paused and went and removed all squeaky toys from my dog's scraps, so hopefully that won't be bothering us anymore. I apologize for that. Anyway, in your words, carrying on, I got back to the office, and about a half hour later, maybe 45 minutes later, my coworker Joey gets up to use the restroom. And she's barely gone, just a few seconds, when she comes rushing back into the room. And she's completely shaken like I've never seen. She's pale and shaking, and slams the door behind her. What's going on, Stanton? What's going on, Joey? What's the problem? She says that she had gone and walked down to the bathroom. I was just opening the door to go in when in this empty hall right behind her, she hears a voice, a male voice, just like I had heard, that said, "I can see you." This totally freaks her out. She panics and bolts into the bathroom. She's fumbling with the lock, trying to shut the door, lock herself in, and she hears a voice from inside the bathroom, right behind her. And this one said, "I'm in here too." He said it was like a giggling, laughing male voice that said, "I'm in here too." And she bolted from the bathroom that she'd been trying to barricade herself in and went running down the hall and slammed herself back into the room. And she gets back and she's telling the story, and it reminds me of what I had heard, the voice that I had heard by the vending machine. And I tell him, "Wow, that's funny, and tell him what had happened to me." And then we get ourselves all riled up, how it is. We're half scared, half excited, giggling like little girls at a slumber party telling these stories. And somehow, I don't know which one of us thought of it. It wasn't me. So one of the other two decided that one of us should take our video recorders on our telephone and go walk the halls and see if we could catch anything on tape. And somehow I got recruited to do it. I probably volunteered just for an excuse to get out of the room for a minute. And I wasn't really buying it. I wasn't really into the whole thing. And I thought, yeah, this will be funny to do. So I got my phone and I go wandering the halls, and I'm kind of, saying, hello, is anybody there? Is anybody there? And I'm not hearing anything. I'm putting the phone so you can see down the halls and this way and that way, and showing that it's completely empty. And then I walk by the vending machine, and then I go around the corner. I'm going into the bathroom. On the recording, you can kind of hear a little bit of noise before I open the bathroom door, but I didn't notice that at the time. I wasn't hearing anything until I opened the room. It's really difficult to describe the atmosphere inside that bathroom, mainly because I was only in there for a millisecond. I wasn't in there long at all, but I open the door and I flip on the light, and I've never in my life been inside of a trailer home during a tornado, but that's kind of the closest thing I can think of to describe it. It was this noise, this windy, crazy tornado noise, and yet everything inside the room was completely still. Nothing was moving. I couldn't see anything, and more than the noise, it was like this feeling I got. It was the strangest thing, unlike anything I'd ever felt before. It was like audible anger, hatred. I was unwanted there. I wasn't supposed to be in there, and I felt that instantly the second I walked in the room. And I hurried and flipped my phone shut. I'm a big guy, and I'm not known for being a very fast guy or for moving swiftly. But I made my way down that hall pretty quickly. And I entered the room and slammed the door behind me. And these guys had never seen me quite like that. I was shaking. I was, visibly upset, trembling. They could tell something was wrong. And they said, "What's going on?" And I couldn't even talk. All I could do was kind of shake the phone. And I just kept saying, "You got to watch this. You got to watch this." It was a few minutes before I was able to tell them what had happened, that I had gone into that room and heard that noise, and they were pretty impressed with the tape. They were astounded. Needless to say, none of us left the room again that night. We stayed in for the rest of the night. Over the next little while, of course, the little video, I think it's only a few minutes long, it made the rounds of the office, and pretty soon everybody heard it. They were all talking about it. They were all speculating about what it could be. I was the only one that wasn't participating in this. I was a bit embarrassed, actually. After the initial shock of the experience had worn off, I was kind of embarrassed about the whole thing, that I participated in such a silly activity to begin with, and then my reaction was anything but manly, anything but boss-like. And I kind of wanted the whole thing to go away, but of course it didn't. And at this time, people started talking about Tom again. His name started coming up. Could this be Tom? Is this Tom? Or is it one of the other thousands of people who have died in this building through the years? And nobody knew, but it was all people could talk about for a few days, and then it died down. My friend actually posted the video on YouTube, and all of their family members watched it. One of my coworkers listened to the recording at super slow motion and said they could hear all sorts of funky things in the audio. But myself, I've only watched the video once. It's not something it doesn't interest me. I don't like to see it. And I don't really care about what other noises can be heard. After that day, things got decidedly stranger around the office. It was something that we couldn't ignore anymore. There was all sorts of weird experiences. People would be walking down the halls, and the bubble mirrors that are on the ceiling of hospitals? They'd see themselves walking, and they'd see someone walking behind them, and they'd turn around and there wouldn't be anybody there. My friend Becky felt her hair being tugged on one time. Not pulled hard, just tugged on. Our coworker Joe, he heard voices right behind him while he was sitting in the office saying strange, bizarre words like sterile and breathe. And one day the candy in the candy dispensing machine started rattling like there was a mouse or something inside the candy rattling it, and then the whole dispenser fell over. Marcus, my coworker, had gone into the haunted bathroom to find the big metal garbage can had been emptied and was sitting upside down, balanced on the toilet bowl. So at this point, it felt more like this isn't kind of a general ghost around the hospital. It felt like we were being targeted, like we were specifically being targeted for these experiences. And it felt like there was a checklist. Someone was wanting to make sure that every single person in the office experienced something they couldn't explain, that each one of us was touched somehow by these weird experiences. Some people didn't take it very well. They took it very, very strongly. And in fact, Joey, the one who had been chased into and then out of the bathroom, ended up quitting, as did another rep. They said they just weren't comfortable working in this environment because it just becomes so strange. It had become so spooky. And all of us were feeling it, and it seemed to be intensifying. Things came to a head about a few weeks ago. It was actually 2.5 weeks ago. It was a weeknight, and it was kind of a slow night. And so we were all toward the end of our shift. It was during the quiet time. One of my reps gets a call from a doctor, and the doctor says, "What's up with this page you guys just sent me? It doesn't make any sense." And so I get on the call, and I'm trying to figure out what had happened. And he had gotten this page that was just gibberish. None of the words made sense. And while I was trying to deal with that and trying to figure that out, another doctor calls, gets another rep, and has a similar story. This doctor said, "Hey, I got this page, but it's an identical page to one I received 2 weeks ago. This isn't a new case." So I start looking into that, and while I'm doing that, the phones start ringing and ringing and ringing. Pretty soon every line is lit up. All of our reps are on calls from doctors all over the Salt Lake Valley who have received the strangest pages. Some of them were in strange languages, some of them were gibberish, and some were from patients that already passed away or pregnant women who had given birth months ago. It made no sense, and these doctors were getting more and more frustrated and more upset. They couldn't tell what was a real emergency from what was a nonsense page. And so my reps are dealing with these calls while I'm on the phone with our IT department, waking them up, trying to figure out what's going on, and calling the phone companies, calling the paging system companies, and they're all blaming each other. The paging system people were blaming the IT people, and the IT people were blaming the phone companies, and nobody seemed to know what was going on. But it was insane. It seemed like every doctor in the Salt Lake Valley, every doctor in the state was being woken up and receiving these pages, hundreds of pages, hundreds of doctors calling. Lasted about 45 minutes, and then just as quickly as it started, it was done. The calls just quit coming. And one of my coworkers who has worked at our organization for a long time, she was there during the Charlie Square massacre. I don't know if you remember that in Salt Lake, and during the Salt Lake City tornado, during the Crandall mine disaster. So she's been there for some crazy times, and she said she'd never seen anything like it. We spent days afterwards trying to figure out, the IT team was full-time trying to decide what had happened and how it had happened and how to keep it from happening again, because it was really bad. And no explanation was ever found. To this day, we don't know why those pages were going out, but it was craziness. It was pure chaos. And at that time, I realized that these pranks have gone on long enough. I mentioned earlier I'm a fixer. When there's a problem, I like to fix it. I like to take care of it. And I don't know what's going on here. I don't know why it's going on, but I'm losing good reps from my team. They're quitting. They don't like the environment. We could lose doctors who are not happy with our service because we're doing all this nonsense, sending out crazy pages, and I could lose my job. This is all happening on my shift, on my watch, and I seem incompetent. Worst case scenario, someone could die. We could lose a patient who's not getting the care they need because this stuff's going on. So I'm a fixer, and I think the way to fix this might be to share the story. And that's why I'm telling you this story, Lex. That's why I'm sharing for all your listeners all this dirty laundry, because I want it to end. It's time for it to stop. It's not fun. It's not funny anymore. We just want to be left alone. Please, who's ever bothering us. I don't know if this is Tom or not that's doing it. I don't know if he's listening. I don't know if he can listen. But if it is him, I make my confession, and I apologize to him for not letting him leave that afternoon that he asked to leave. I've lost so many nights' sleep, so much time thought, wishing I could go back in time, wishing more than anything that I could go back in time and let him leave and tell him to leave and say, don't go home, don't go straight to the emergency room, take off, get yourself taken care of, because there's something going on in your stomach and it's going to go bad. But I can't do that. What I can do is tell the story, make my confession, make my apology, repent for everybody to see, sit naked and bared in front of everyone and share this story. I don't know if it'll work or not. I don't know if you'll ever be hearing from me again. I hope not. I hope this is the end of it. But I just, that's it. That's all I've got. Thank you for the time, Lex. Thank you for the amazing show. I love the show, and by proxy, I love you for producing it, for providing it for us, and for.
And as I promised, I'm going to do one more thing before letting you go. This is an episode of One Step Beyond, and I've put it together thusly. And up next, I'm going to share some audio from an old TV series called One Step Beyond. I played one or two of these before. So what it is they're in the public domain, and I'm going to play the show. But of course there won't be any visuals, and if something comes up that needs to be described, I'll do that. And the show acted out supposedly true paranormal-ish stories. And this episode's called Haunted U-Boat. And a U-boat is a Nazi submarine, and this took place at the end of World War II. The main character is played by Werner Klemperer, and he's best known for his role in the comedy TV series Hogan's Heroes as Colonel Klink. And his character in this episode of One Step Beyond seems to be some sort of advisor to Hitler. Fictional, I think. And so here is the Haunted U-Boat from One Step Beyond.
The amazing drama you're about to see is a matter of human record. You may believe it or not. But the real people who lived this story, they believe it. They know. They took that one step beyond. This is one of the storerooms of a salvage company in Connecticut. It may seem a most unlikely place to begin the incredible saga of German U-boat 147. But there's a reason for my being here. A fantastic reason, which I'll explain later. Actually, the story began some years ago, and a long way from Connecticut. It was early spring 1945, and Hitler's Third Reich was dying. 147 was one of the last U-boats to survive. Now it waited off the coast of northern Germany to begin its final voyage.
A Nazi official climbs aboard the U-boat.
Heil Hitler! Heil Hitler. Be careful with those briefcases.
An honor to have you aboard, sir.
I shouldn't be on board. I should be with the Führer, fighting until the end.
Put them in my cabin. May I show you to your quarters?
The captain is generous.
My orders from the Admiralty are quite specific. So long as you are aboard this boat, you are in command, Herr Bartman.
My orders are not so specific. We must somehow keep this dream alive. Herr Captain! Enemy aircraft!
Herr Bartman!
Secure!
40 meters!
40 meters, Captain!
That's rather hard. Steady. 1 to 0. We'll be underwater in 30 seconds.
The U-boat is now underwater, and the soldiers are manning their stations. The entire crew hears a knocking atop the U-boat.
Oh my God!
What is it?
Someone is trapped on top! Surface at once!
Service at once, Captain! What are you doing?
I'm going up after him.
You can't. The plane will kill us all.
One of my men is drowning up there.
You cannot surface. I will not allow it. That is an order.
The captain reluctantly obeys Herr Botman's orders and resumes lowering the U-boat.
Resume driving position to 40 meters.
40 meters, Captain!
Our stations. This is the captain. Check all personnel and report.
Oh, I have never been on a U-boat. Is smoking permitted?
No, Herr Botman.
No?
No, there is battery gas aboard. It might explode.
What a bore.
What a beautiful cigarette case.
Yes, it is, isn't it? The inscription on the inside might interest you.
The Führer.
It was given to me at Nuremberg in 1938. 1,000,000 voices singing the Horst Wessel song. The torches turning their faces red. Those were days, my boy.
Engine room reporting, Captain. All hands at station. Aft torpedo room. All hands at station.
Waiting room at station.
Forward torpedo room. All hands at station, Captain.
That leaves only the control room.
Captain, you must understand that the life of every German is as dear to me as it is to you. But on this voyage, my dear Captain, you're carrying something more precious than life.
And that is?
You are carrying the last hope of the Third Reich. All that is left of Germany are a few U-boats, such as this one, moving under the sea, with a half a dozen leaders like myself. This is not vanity. This is a historical fact.
When did you see the Führer last?
I do not want to talk about that. He's become an old man. His vitality all gone. His whole body trembles. Imagine those wonderful eyes, dead. I wept. I admit it, I wept.
Captain! All hands at stations in control room.
Are you certain?
Certain, Captain.
No one missing. How can that be?
Could it have been the bullets from the plane?
Possibly some seaweed caught on the cables when we crash-dived, Captain.
I suppose it's possible.
Well, then we're upset about nothing. All is well. That is a good omen. I feel rather tired. Will somebody take me to my cabin, please?
Friedel,
Yes, Captain.
show Herr Bachmann to my quarters.
Yes, Captain.
What is it?
The crewmen begin searching the cause of the banging.
Check every valve, bolt and fitting on this boat.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Keep looking.
I checked the engine room, the aft torpedo room, and the forward torpedo room. Everything is working perfectly. Oh, I found a loose sprocket on one of the ventilator fans, but that could not have caused the noise.
Well, let's hope we are through with the sound.
What's that?
A little party. I gave the men permission.
But they'll wake Herr Bachmann. The poor man finally fell asleep. I'll tell him to stop.
Lieutenant, didn't you hear me? I gave them permission.
We see Herr Botman on his bed, listening to the men sing. He gets up to join them.
Don't get up for me. I'm not a worshipper of dignity like the good captain. Some of my best memories are of being with young people at party meetings. They were like my own boys. Well now, whose birthday is it?
My wife's, sir.
Your wife's? How charming.
Did they wake you up, Herr Bartmann?
No, it's all right. The sound has stopped.
Yes.
It's more pleasant to be awake now. Go to my cabin. You will find a bottle of cognac there. Bring it here.
At once.
Your wife, huh? Well, how old is she?
Elsa's 21. I hope.
You hope?
She's been reported missing.
Oh, come now. Let's cheer up. I may have to send a message to Herr Goebbels saying that we have discovered a defeatist among us. Herr Goebbels will say, shoot him right away.
Herr Hauptmann.
Ah, thank you. Cognac, huh? It's better than beer, isn't it? Here we go. Little cognac for you. Little cognac for you. All right, here, my boy.
Herr Botman drops the liquor bottle, panics, and runs back to the control room.
What kind of stupidity is this? There must be some way of finding out where this is coming from.
We've checked everything inside the hull. Every piece of machinery is working perfectly.
Then why is there this pounding?
When we surface to recharge batteries, we'll check the superstructure. Maybe it's up there.
And when will that be?
When it's possible.
Oh, it's bad enough to be sealed up in this coffin, choking on the smell of oil and men. But to endure this idiotic... No!
It's coming from here, yes, but there is nothing wrong. It's tight as a drum.
Captain, I want to ask you a question.
Well,
Is it possible that one of the men in your crew is doing this deliberately?
deliberately, why should anyone?
Oh, come now. Don't be that simple-minded.
I don't understand.
To shatter my nerves, of course. To make it impossible for me to carry out my mission.
That's ridiculous.
I do not think so.
Even if anyone wanted to, how could they?
What do I know about U-boats? I would make a very satisfactory victim for the trip. Is there no way to stop this pounding? Will this pounding ever cease?
Captain Medical Officer.
Yes, what for? What for?
A sedative, perhaps, Herr Bartman.
I do not need a sedative. I want the records of every man sent to my cabin.
All the records are kept in the Admiralty in Berlin.
Oh, that's most unfortunate. It might have been interesting to look into the captain's records also.
Botman heads back down the stairs to his cabin. The crew in the control room look at each other confused. Botman is lying in his bed, sweating and nervous. He jumps up when the banging begins again.
The pounding's in my cabin! Right outside the wall! Surface at once and find out what it is!
We can't. It would be too dangerous.
Surface at once!
Surface at once!
Surface at once, Captain!
The U-boat begins to surface.
Everything still all right?
No signs of anything so far, Captain.
Keep a sharp watch.
Yes, Captain.
Nothing.
We see a messenger running through the boat toward the control room, and he hands the captain a message.
Radio message, Captain.
Thank you. Where was this picked up?
Shortwave from London.
At the top of the deck, we see Botman sitting and looking very stressed.
Herr Botman, we haven't found the trouble yet, but I assure you
Yes. We will stay up here until we do find it. I didn't know that fresh air could taste so sweet.
The captain heads to the top to give the radio message to Botman.
For me?
The message is handed to Botman, with another officer standing by.
It is a lie.
I doubt it, Herr Bartman.
Who gave you this?
The radio man, of course.
It is another deliberate attempt to harass me.
Herr Bartman, I assure you.
Who is this radio man? What is his background?
Lieutenant Friedel is in charge of personnel.
I found him reliable. Admiral Dönitz announced today that Adolf Hitler died during the night of April 30th. A Reuters dispatch reports that Hitler killed himself.
It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie.
It's a filthy lie! The Führer would never do anything like that.
No, sir.
I do not believe in the reliability of your radio man.
But Herr Botman, I was...
Why do you insist on defending him?
I'm not defending him.
It's a lie! It's a lie! A filthy lie!
Botman had the officer by the collar, and the captain stopped him.
Why are we fighting among ourselves? We're all that is left. Captain, I wish to speak to the men.
They head back down the stairs to the control room.
Attention! This is the captain! Attention!
This is Bautmann. I bring you terrible news, my comrades. The Führer is dead. He died like a hero, leading his troops into battle. We are Germany now. We must be worthy of the Führer's courage.
The captain answers the phone.
Captain. Attention! This is the captain! Everybody to dive stations!
What are you doing?
A boat is approaching from the south.
We haven't found out about the pounding! We haven't found out about the pounding!
Ship's 10 miles away!
Oh, no! 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 No!
Botman began climbing up the ladder, and they knocked him out. The U-boat is underwater, but we see a destroyer patrolling above.
The propeller noises are stronger now. 1, 2, 5 revolutions. Sounds like a destroyer.
How close?
Between 3,000 and 4,000 meters.
Lieutenant Schneider?
This is the captain. What is our depth?
90 meters.
An enemy destroyer is approaching. We will be under depth charge attack in approximately 4 minutes. You are to begin procedures for silent routine.
Yes, Captain. This is Lieutenant Schneider.
All electrical equipment except battery for lights will be shut off.
Shoes are to be removed.
There will be no unnecessary talking.
And what do we do if the pounding starts again?
Power room will turn off motors.
Chief engineer will disconnect ventilating system.
That is all.
The captain looks anxious as he re-enters the control room. He picks up the phone.
Giving further information.
2,500 meters. Still closing. Propeller 125 revolutions.
Someone drops a cup of coffee, and everyone reacts.
If that is the only sound we make, we will be all right, Captain.
How close?
2,200 meters. Closing. No, wait. Going over to new course. Approximately 228.
He may be losing us. He's veering away.
On the ocean's surface, we see the destroyer moving away.
Well?
4,000 meters. Still moving away. Now on course 206.
He's all over the ocean. He's lost us.
Botman in his cabin begins to have a panic attack and runs up to the control room.
Where am I? Oh, I'm suffocating. I'm suffocating. I'm suffocating. I'm suffocating. I can't breathe. Get out. What is it? What is it?
The lieutenant yells at the banging.
I can't breathe. I must have air. The destroyer will pick up the pounding and come back.
Indeed it will, Lieutenant.
What is it? Where can it be? Air.
Botman begins going crazy and they pin him down. One of the crew sticks Botman with a tranquilizer.
Tell him where I am. Tell him to stop the pounding. Tell him to stop the pounding. Oh, listen. I'm Botman. Remember, the Führer, he embraced me. He said to me, Nürnberg. Million voices, screaming, faces, blood,
I gave him Beto, sir.
faces,
Make him unconscious in a minute.
The destroyer is back and begins shooting depth chargers to sink the U-boat.
All stations. This is the captain. Reach for dip charges.
Are we going to try to run for it, Captain?
Run? Where can we run?
We're setting ducks.
It stopped. He's unconscious now. Will somebody give me a hand?
The captain is standing alone and quietly walks forward when he realizes something.
Dear God, only when he's conscious. What? We hear the pounding only when he's awake. When he's asleep, it's gone. It's gone now. Don't you see? Somehow it comes from him.
That could not be.
It follows him from place to place.
No, it's not possible. It's not possible.
All stations.
The destroyer continues with effective depth charger bombing.
This is the Captain. Restore power and prepare to surface.
Into forward tank. Left rudder. We're going to surrender. Surrender? The war is over. Do you want to die down here with her, Bartman?
What could it have been?
Wonder about it for the rest of your days. Just as I shall. Who knows? It might be good for our souls. All hands! This is the captain. We are going to surrender.
Through the courtesy of the Hornsby Salvage Company in Connecticut, I offer this wrench as one of the strangest mementos of World War II. In 1946, the Hornsby people bought U-boat 147 for scrap. When the outside hull of the ship was cut away, this wrench was found in the hands of a skeleton. During the frenzied war effort of the German U-boat yards, sometimes a workman died unnoticed inside the tank spaces, which then became his unmarked tomb. Now that explains the skeleton, but it doesn't explain the pounding. However, I have a theory. It's my own, of course. What about the man who held this wrench? What was he? Was he a slave laborer from the Balkans of France, Poland? Or was he a German whose hatred of the Nazis did not end with his death? What was he? In a moment, something about next week. Next week, we travel to the chateau country of France and the scene of some very dark doings indeed. The villagers still whisper about the murdered wife, whose tortured image has a way of appearing on the stone wall of the lovely chateau. Try to be with us.
Okay, and that's all she wrote for episode 327 of Anything Ghost, the 20th anniversary of Anything Ghost. And I hope you had a good time hanging out here. If you have a story you want to share, a local ghost legend or a true ghost story, then send it to lex@anythingghost.com. Okay, everyone, thanks for 20 years of listening, some of you, and others new to the show. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope you hang around. All right, I'll talk to you in episode number 328 of Anything Ghost. Have yourself a great week, and take care.